One thing I don't think I'm ever really going to understand. That's this never going to win, never going to win, never going to stop spend war on drugs plan. Every intelligent being on this planet knows the only ones to benefit from a drugs ban are the drugs gangs, or the type of characters that like to make slugs ban. Even in the middle of the war in Afghanistan, poppies were still being farmed on their land. But for a minute, leave the hard stuff to one side and let's understand that up until recently, man from all over the land up to land in Amsterdam just to play some Afghan, unless I'm wrong, and all them stoners were really just flying in to check out the Rembrandt. So look, I don't really want to hammer this point, but what's the big deal about a cannabis joint anyway? When you compare it to the damage down in pints every day, or even puffing on tobacco in an old school pipe same way. They say it might can cure cancer. Who knows? I'm not going to sit here and say I got the definitive answer. But ain't that the kind of claim we should be sending some serious scientific research funding after? I think the problem lies in the way we see it all. Like, if you were to talk to an individual, they'll probably tell you they don't see no massive harm in it. Maybe a bit worried about the criminal gangs farming it and palming it, but outside that, no huge alarm in it. Yet en masse, talk to us as a society, you'll find that we seem to be against it in a big way. At least they know what the polls say, so their job play. Not license it and use it to get some much needed revenue in the door, so they could use the money raised to finally take some pressure off the poor. Nah, they can't do that. They tell us the whole country would be in uproar. I've heard bullshit before. See, the thing about politicians is they only really legislate for their core, voters. Notice the key word in that sentence is voters, whether lifelong supporters or floaters. Let me ask my often misquoted smokers, when was the last time you voted? Don't get me wrong. Not saying you should go put your X in a box. Don't participate in the bollocks. Lending your allegiance to the prettiest logo like a bunch of political trollops? Nah. Point is, you ain't putting funds in their bank account, whether directly through political contributions or votes or even in some shady roundabout way. You don't count because you don't pay. Drug policy to date hasn't changed shit. No, hang on, that's a lie. It's made a few drug dealers rich, the highest earning sellers to never even have a sales pitch. Meanwhile, the government continues to fill the jails with scackheads and crackheads and pale script addicts. It's madness. Shouldn't they be in some kind of hospital? The basis for their behavioural problem isn't criminal, it's medical, it's chemical. Spending money locking people up because they're addicted to a substance isn't justice, it's an idea worse than terrible. It's more like hypocritical, yeah. We're being lectured on the ethical by some coked up professionals, their lives filled with reprehensible, obsessional sexual material. So excuse me if I'm sceptical, I don't find the idea of being spoken down to by liars, paedophiles and thieves acceptable, and I don't think that's unconventional. The point I'm trying to make is that the harm caused by drugs in the most part is preventable, but harm prevention isn't the overriding principle. It's almost biblical in the sense that the logical reasoning behind drugs policy is entirely fictional. They ain't never going to be sensible and switch their visual viewpoint to one that's clinical. Maybe we got to do something extreme like get on it discreet, infiltrate down the street, find a supply of tea, swap it for green and get the entire cabinet lean. But that's the kind of scheme that earns you a pre-dawn visit from the anti-terrorist team with bare red beams. But still, we can dream of a progressive type of utopian tale where evidence-based drug policies prevail and the flow of up-to-the-minute, well-researched information isn't for sale, and there's a collective, concerted effort to curtail nonsensical, poisonous media outlets like the Daily Mail with their mainly stale perspective using fear to influence the collective. Yeah, that sounds like the sort of place I could dwell.